Yeah, now it sounds like there's someone's playing with like a wrench set on the concrete.
Oh. No, I'm playing with my balls.
Oh.
Sound like wind chimes.
This is episode 236 of the Illustrious Gentleman podcast.
Ugh.
That's Scott.
Amateur hour here. My boom mic is in frame.
That's Scott. He draws comics for DC Comics. I'm Ryan. I color comics sometimes for DC Comics. And this is a podcast that we do. And where we talk about comics, movies, pop culture, nonsense. And yeah, you can go to tigshow.com, click on the merch link, sports podcast that way. You can become a Patreon at patreon.com/super75studios. You'll get sometimes early episodes, sometimes unedited episodes. Yeah, good stuff for fine folks.
That's what they say.
That's right. Nice shirt. Must have found your dirty laundry.
Yeah, I spilled shit on myself earlier, so I grabbed a rag.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So this one again.
Usually use it to wash the car.
Some of these episodes don't need to be watched, but some of them it can reinforce if you want to watch them. There are going to be some visual aids in today's episode. But go ahead and let it play so we can get our streaming numbers up and then hop over to YouTube later. And you can watch all the videos straight from tigshow.com if you don't want to go to YouTube. Because unless you have like, I forget what the number is, but YouTube won't let you have a dedicated URL to your YouTube page unless you have like 2,500 followers or something.
Oh.
Which we're just shy of. We're just like 2,487 shy of that 2,500 number. So it's easier just to go to tigshow.com. All the videos are embedded there, as well as links to the audio files. If you're a listener and you don't already, just get it in your podcast app. It should auto download every Sunday night. But yeah, here we are. What are you drinking today, Scott? Looks like you had something out of a plastic cup.
Yeah, I have water.
Nice.
Water.
Pinkies up. I went out. I had to go to the grocery store today, so I bought a can of Outspoken California Bubbly Rosé. I can't remember if I've had this before. I think I've had something similar because I recognize the artwork. But it's a California wine, obviously 13%, so that's always good. And Angela Thurman left a review on Vivino.com.
Vivino?
Yes. Angela says, it's sparkly, but had an odd tangy note. This would be a great ski boat quaff.
What?
Not yummy, but not off-putting. This is the sparkling wine equivalent of a fridge beer.
Ski boat quaff?
I don't know what a quaff is, but she even put an exclamation point. So maybe that's like a rich person's term for like a hang.
I think that's the title of the episode.
Ski boat quaff. Yeah, I don't know what a quaff is. I don't know anyone with ski boats. So maybe once you start hanging out with people with ski boats, then you get a whole new jargon, whole new like words open up to you.
I didn't know there were like boats for skiing.
Yeah. They have looks like they have a roof rack of a car, but that's just so you can rope multiple things to, and they're usually small and they usually have big motors.
What a world.
Yeah, years ago, we're going back 22 years now, I worked on the lake at Lake Powell at a fueling station. And you'd always get these Toyota speedboats coming in, and they were ski boats. And they just had a Lexus V8 motor, like car motors in the back of them. And their whole purpose was Bose sound systems, racks for skis and for wakeboards, a V8 motor, and that's it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Crazy.
Get my boat ready, Jeeves. We're going skiing.
Yes, and be sure to bring some of that
that's
cheap
my fishing
wine.
Boat, you idiot.
Be sure to bring some of that cheap wine. We need some quaff for the boat. I was thinking today, a lot of times lately, some of these podcasts go on a bit long, hour and a half. Should we move TikTok to the end of the pod, and then if we have time, we get to it, and if we don't, we just save it? Let's figure this out.
I don't know. Like naturally, it feels like a beginning of the episode thing.
Right, but if you think of it as recommendations, then wouldn't it be kind of the end of the episode thing?
Okay, those are separate things. So, okay. Yeah, I if you just want to do like recommendations to replace TikTok, then we can do subject and then Rex.
Yeah, okay, so yeah. I guess I see what you're saying. So if I binged the other day, I binged an entire 1.5 seasons of It's Always Sunny. I don't know if I would recommend that, but I would not recommend it. But I guess what you're saying, like on my notes right here, Everton finally got rid of our fucking manager. # Rafa out after 2 wins in 13 matches. So that wouldn't be a wreck. That's just me saying, thank God.
Do you think his accounting firm will rehire him?
I think someone will rehire him, but I just want to say, thank God Rafa's out. Time for big dunk like this week. So in Premier League and in European sports, they call them caretaker managers instead of interim managers. So we have 2 former players as our caretaker managers for the foreseeable future until we hire somebody. And I'm excited. I like it when former players are part of the coaching staff of the team that they were players for, that they're most closely associated with. Yeah, Matt Williams.
It's nice when it works out.
Yeah, it's nice when it works out, but I like having someone who has passion for the club. You know, I was trying to think like maybe Matt Williams and Luis Gonzalez were both on the D-back staff at one point, I think. What's his name? The third baseman with all the DUIs, but he's a good third baseman.
Mark Grace.
Yeah.
He's a color commentator for the team.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's still in pocket with the team.
Yeah, not for the Cubs. That's weird, right?
Yeah, that is weird. But yeah, I guess that would be my only. I don't know if my other note is something I want to recommend yet. So maybe if we get to it, we'll get to it. If not, we'll do it at the end, or I'll do it next week or whatever. But I just wanted to. I'm excited about Everton again, and I got to get up at 5:30 a.m. on Saturday to watch them play, and I'm gonna fucking do it. So
I don't know that I would.
Let's go Blues.
I mean, not just because I'm not an Everton fan, but just because it's 5:30 in the morning.
Yeah. Aston Villa.
So do you go back to sleep? Do you take a nap at some point during the day?
A game like that's over at 7:30, I will most definitely go back to sleep. But when they play at like 7, I don't go back to sleep, or if something like that. But you know what I might even do is I might even just set my computer, because it's on Peacock. I got to watch it on my laptop anyways. I'll probably just set it up on my nightstand and just roll over and turn it on. Because all the sexy shit happens in the bed. Might as well be our first game this season without a terrible manager.
I do the same thing when I can't sleep. I just put on Everton highlights.
What about you? Any TikTok that's not necessarily a wreck?
I don't know. I don't know. I have come unprepared for this particular point because I have seen things, but I'm on the fence as to whether or not I would recommend them. So
yeah, well,
maybe I need to think on it, and I'll get back to you next episode.
Watched 2 movies last night. European Vacation, which doesn't need a recommendation. Just stick with the OG Vacation as one of the most perfect comedies of all time. You don't need to go to the European Vacation. But then I watched, just for shits and giggles, we were going to put on Old School for like a half hour. Or not Old School. Sorry, Wedding Crashers for like a half hour while I finished a beer I had open. And then I ended up staying up past midnight on a school night because I had to watch all of Wedding Crashers.
You didn't have to.
The best part was I didn't have to because it's just on HBO Max. I could start it again later, but I'm a sucker for those Owen Wilson, Vince Vaughn, early 2000 comedies. I'm also a sucker for Rachel McAdams era 2005 or 2025. Don't matter to me. Doctor Strange in the Mouth of Madness. The
years when she was alive.
Yes. Or whatever the Doctor Strange sequel is going to be, in the madness of the multiverse or something.
Yeah, in the mouth of the multiverse.
Yeah. I mean, she won't get much screen time because it's going to be all cameos all the time. She won't really have a chance to shine. But I only need a couple seconds anyway, so just Rachel McAdams is awesome. Go watch The Notebook.
She doesn't need to be in those movies.
Go watch Wedding Crashers.
She's only there, like Mike Stoklasa says, just to make sure everybody knows Doctor Strange couldn't possibly be gay.
No matter what you think of his haircut. And the fact that he's wearing a sweet cardigan in Spider-Man the whole time. Like, that was a nice cardigan. That's a gay man's cardigan. He should have worn it the whole time. Yeah. Yeah. Even when they were fighting, just cardigan with the little wood buttons. I like those little wood buttons that go through the
Oh, yeah. Mine's got the little...
Yeah. Yeah. I like those.
Big fat-ass buttons.
Yeah. All right. So today we're talking imprints.
My kids like to push them. Imprints.
Alternate. They're not necessarily alternate universes. We're talking Marvel Comics publishing imprints, but not necessarily like alternate universes. We're not talking about like Squadron Supreme or fucking Age of Apocalypse. We're talking about...
Right.
I have three...
Yes. Those are in continuity alternate things. These are...
I have three imprints here that are technically created to be separate from the main Marvel universe. But of course, when the IP must flow over the course of their lifetimes, a lot of these characters and these books have made appearances in the 616, I think is how the kids say it. The main uni. So yeah, I thought we'd do that. The DC has some. There's obviously like Elseworlds books, and there's I don't know. I'm sure DC has other examples, but we're sticking with Marvel, and I'm sticking with three main imprints. And the best part is you probably don't know any of these except the last one. So I'm going to pull up some images, and we can just shoot I think
you might be surprised. Yeah, show me some stuff.
All right. Well, first of all, before I pull up our visual aids, the first imprint I'm going with is Epic Comics from 1982 to 1996.
Mm-hmm.
It published creator-owned work unconnected to Marvel's superhero universe and without restrictions of the comics code. Though that was flexible because Marvel characters did start to show up once nobody was buying a lot of these books. Marvel started using it as like a prestige format kind of thing. So the first book, the one a lot of people associate is Dreadstar with Jim Starlin, later published at Malibu and First, maybe Dark Horse at some point. I can't remember. I was never a Dreadstar fan. None of these books am I a huge fan of, but I do like the graphics of. Hang on, let's see if we can get this better. My graphics, no.
Oh, right, RoboCop.
Yeah, it's got to look like that, I guess. So, yeah, Alien Legion is a book I had always heard about. Basically, Foreign Legion in space.
I have aliens. A couple of Alien Legion books, maybe.
Yeah. Created by Carl Potts, some other dudes, but mostly
No, it's
Carl
Alien
Potts.
Worlds.
Larry Stroman drew a bunch of these before going over to X-Force in the early 90s. Chuck Dixon wrote a lot of it. And it had a character. This character on the cover to this issue is Jugger Nimrod, which I always thought was a cool name. And I did a commission of him years ago. I think for Matt Reed. I can't remember exactly who I did it for, but
is this a Chuck Dixon character?
I think Carl Potts created almost all of them. Chuck Dixon just wrote it. I guess I don't know for sure though. I can't tell you for
Carl
sure.
Potts.
I know him more as a writer. He wrote I guess he did ink too, but he also wrote the Punisher War Journal, Jim Lee's Punisher War Journal run, and a bunch of other shit. So yeah, Alien Legion looks cool. I mean, they have like the main characters like a half human, half reptile dude, which I ain't into that shit. But give me this RoboCop / Judge Dredd ripoff, and I'd be into it depending on who drew the book, you know. All right, and then this is one Meltdown with Havoc and Wolverine. I remember this is the first like prestige comic I ever saw at the comic book store when I was like 11 or 12, you know, like the first thing that didn't look, it looked different from a regular comic. It looked like something special. And I remember being like intimidated by it. It was painted, you know, John J. Muth and Kent Williams, like fully painted interiors. And I was just thinking like, oh, I don't know if I can handle this. Like it's too much. Like it's too adult, you know, maybe too much for my 11-year-old brain to handle. Like
I'm not familiar with John J. Muth, but looking at this, I think he did the cover to the Dark Phoenix collection that I have.
I do not know. He's a very well-known comic book painter.
Who would want to read a Havoc and Wolverine miniseries?
I think it was also, if I remember correctly, it was like a road trip series too. Like, I don't know. In 1986, I can't imagine Havoc was that big of a deal.
Kids just can't get enough of that Havoc.
He was just about to come on.
Worst costume ever.
Well, the head antenna thing is an issue, but the rest of the costume is fucking boss. Just black with white circles. That shit's radish. That's cool. Yeah, this would have been before. I don't know exactly when this was, but this would have been before like Havoc was even in the like Uncanny X-Men, before the Mark Silvestri run that had Havoc in it. So I don't. Were people clamoring for Havoc? I don't know.
They wanted people to clamor for Havoc.
Apparently. But yeah, fully painted story. Again, I remember seeing this on the shelf. Like when I see this image, I can smell the comic book store. Like I know I can smell what I was, you know, what it smelled like when I see this image.
Wow. What year is this?
Not sure, but I would imagine it's like 84 or 85, maybe 86. All right. And then they also did, Epic also did a bunch of other stuff like, wait, these are out of order. What's happening?
Ah!
Is it not in there?
Spoilers.
Oh, sorry. Well, it's only spoilers for the 3 people who watch it. All right, so I messed up. I wasn't supposed to jump ahead yet. I have too many asterisks here. You know, I'm doing too many jobs here. But Epic also did. They did Gru. They did ElfQuest. They did the American reprint of Acura. Not Acura. That's a
Acura.
That's a pretty nice Honda. Akira, Cadillacs and Dinosaurs. That Silver Surfer graphic novel by Mobius and Stan Lee. That was a Epic book. And then they also did like these Critical Mass Shadowline books, Shadowline Saga is what it was called. So this is one called Dr. Zero. So it was kind of like when these books weren't selling, when this line wasn't selling, they created three shared superheroes to be in this line. And this was one of them. But I pulled this one up because it's a Kevin Nolan cover, painted cover. And I remember seeing these in the store too, always thinking, again, like they're too mature for me. Like they're comics for like college students. And I was still reading like, you know, Spider-Man and shit. Like I wasn't ready for this.
I would bet money that he also designed the logo.
Possibly. Yeah, so I didn't read any of these comics, but they had a lot of cool artists on it. I mean, they had like Dennis Cohen, Sienkiewicz, Klaus Janson, Mark Teixeira, I think might have drawn on some of these. But I guess they never really took off. But they look cool. I think might be a Mignola cover for one of these guys, one of these books. But again, it's like kind of when I was also getting into comics and you would see shit like the Sandman comics. I just thought like, oh, I'm not clever enough for these. These books are too highfalutin. I couldn't possibly understand what's going on. Whenever I saw a painted cover on a comic, I was like, oh, I don't think I'm ready for this.
Just drop it.
Yeah. But this is a great cover. That's kind of a neat character design. The Dr. Zero design. So yeah. So Epic had some cool shit. I remember as a kid, so this spun out of Epic Illustrated, which was Marvel's magazine size, like Tarzan comics, and there might have been a Punisher comic that was magazine sized. I can't remember, but yeah, all that shit was just so like. It was almost like looking at porn, but not looking at porn. But I didn't want anyone to see me looking at like a Conan comic.
Oh, okay.
Like, it was like boobs would be spilling out occasionally.
I have some of those Conan magazines.
Yeah, you get some John.
Now,
Buscema.
I guess in my mind's eye, I can see the E on it.
Yeah, Epic Illustrated is what they were, and then this became Epic Comics. But yeah, like I'd be flipping through the magazines, the Marvel or the Epic magazines at the store, and you'd come across like a John Buscema tit, in a Conan comic, and I'd be like, "Oh God, I hope no one sees me." Meanwhile, there's probably a real pornographic magazine like 2 rows up that I couldn't be less interested in because all the comics.
Well, that one's shrink wrapped.
Yeah. Yeah. Good luck finding a issue of Dr. Zero 3 that's not bagged and boarded already. All right. So after Epic Comics, again, it limped on for like 14 years until the 90s, but I don't remember it making much of an impact on me. Then we go to the New Universe, which is something the graphics I remember.
This I'm more familiar with. I have some Star Brand issues.
Yes. So New Universe is 1986 to 1989. Didn't last very long. A separate superhero universe to the Marvel universe. Supposedly it was designed to be more realistic. And the books also progressed in real time. Something Savage Dragon does. So the book would be like something happened and they'd go on another mission like a month later. I remember being a kid and seeing this promo. So this is like 86. So seeing this promo in the back of comics, just being like pumped, like a whole new, like I was into it because there's no continuity. I didn't need the previous 160 issues of Uncanny X-Men. I could pick up something brand new from the jump. So I was totally into it. But ultimately most of them were kind of disappointing. And most of them, the biggest problem was, Cricket's back.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jiminy's back. But I think the biggest problem was with these books. Well, one of them is called Kickers Inc., and it's about former football players being superheroes.
Yeah.
but one of the other problems
I'm going to have to get my Spitfire and the Troubleshooters reboot pitch worked up.
Apparently they couldn't find stable creative teams like Night Mask, which was actually kind of a precursor to Sleepwalker. Like he would go into people's dreams, and I guess the pitch was he would help people through their trauma in their dreams. I don't know how exciting that is for a comic book.
Sounds great.
Yeah, but that book Night Mask had I think it said 11 different. I did the math. 11 different artists in 12 issues. And like 9 different writers in 12 issues or something like that. So couldn't find their groove, I guess. But
it's like playing quarterback for the Washington football team.
Yeah, but I did have this issue of Star Brand, and this cover is Star Brand number 4 for people just listening. This cover is credited to John Romita Jr., but it definitely doesn't look like a...
He did the issues that I have.
Yeah, but this seems like such a departure. He would be doing X-Men like right around the same time. This just seems like such a different. This cover doesn't look like a John Romita Jr.
No,
drawing.
it does not.
Is what I'm saying. But I remember I picked this up off the newsstand because of this cover. Like, this is a badass cover. I mean, it's just a dude throwing a log at some dude, but it's cool. Starbrand was written by Jim Shooter, art by J.R., Keith Giffen, Mark Bagley, and John Byrne. Like, they were John Byrne. Can you imagine me, John Byrne? You just got done rebooting Superman, and they're giving you fill-in issues of Starbrand over at Marvel. What a slap in the fucking face. And then, of course, the Star Brand has made appearances in modern Marvel books. It's kind of like a Green Lantern. Like the Star Brand is what gives you the powers.
What's his real name? What's Star Brand's secret identity?
Oh, I don't have that information.
So I know, and I can yell at the movie screen when he pops up in an MCU movie.
Yeah, it's like Kevin something, but they won't do that. They won't go that deep. They'll show the star. They'll show the brand on a tattoo, like on some dipshit's arm or something, and then dorks can go. You know, they'll put it like where the fucking
right. It'll be on somebody's business card or something in like 3 frames.
Yeah, probably in a Captain Marvel movie. You know, it's probably in
somebody will make a 25-minute YouTube video about it.
I wouldn't be surprised if it's not somewhere in the Captain Marvel movie, because why not? But yeah, I always thought this was the one I could get into, but obviously I only remember buying this one issue of Star Brand, so apparently I did not get into it. And then DP7, I have this issue, DP7 number 1.
No.
I bought off the rack. Displaced Paranormals. There were 7 of them.
Oh.
Not the kind of DP you're thinking about. Displaced Paranormal 7.
Yeah, my browser history is full of DP7.
This, I think I read that this was the biggest hit because it's kind of just like the X-Men. It's like outcasts who have powers who are being persecuted. I couldn't tell you anything about it other than I know I had this first issue. Because again, I love this cover. And there's nothing to it. It's just something totally new, right? Like when you're a kid. Again,
yeah, I guess it feels... oh my God. Looking even at the title, it feels Doom Patrol-y.
Yeah. Maybe that's kind of what they were going for. But again, when you're fucking 11 or 12 and you're in the comic book shop, this has a number 1 on it. I was buying anything that had a number 1 on it. Again, because I couldn't afford to go back and get 200 issues of the Avengers or 160 issues of the X-Men, like I mentioned. So whenever there was a new number 1, I was picking it up. And this cover, I don't know, maybe it's just the yellow background, the purple logo. It definitely pops. Looking at it now, though, it almost looks like that perspective's off on that logo, but that can't be possible. Impossible.
What do you mean?
It just doesn't look right.
Well,
maybe the letters
it's
are
not
too deep.
Perspective. Isn't that what's called isometric perspective? Like a cartoon or something, right? They're only drawing the vanishing or the receding lines at one angle. They're not going towards a vanishing point. It's just at one angle.
Well, I guess technically there should be a vanishing point somewhere out in the universe.
Yeah, it's not quite the Meltdown logo.
No, it's not. So yeah, DP7. I love this idea of the new universe, though. Like, an established company starting a whole new line of comics that has nothing to do with their other comics. I just think they're poorly executed. Justice. So I just pulled this image because it's a Lee Weeks cover. Lee Weeks did a lot of young Lee Weeks did a lot of Justice for New Universe.
28.
Yeah, some of these ran for like 32 issues and like an annual, like one annual, but like 32 issues. But it's funny because in the early 90s, I was lukewarm on Lee Weeks, but now that I'm a Lee Weeks stan, looking back on this, like this is a great cover. Like it's got everything you need in a cover.
Yeah.
From 33 years ago, Lee Weeks. Yeah. He had it going from the jump. I was just a dummy. I wasn't on board that Weeks train. I was on board the Week train. But not the Weeks train.
Yeah, I would like for the hospital bed to either be in his hands or I don't know. above his hands, like it's levitating or something. As it is, it's just kind of strange. It looks like somebody pushed the eject button on his neck and then a hospital bed came out.
Hey, I don't know anything about the Justice comic book. So maybe he's like a super powered hospice worker.
Oh, there's an idea.
When they finally go on to their, heavenly end, they come out of his neck.
Like a Pez dispenser.
Of justice. Yeah. And then I pulled one more cover. We're going through these fast. I thought there'd be more back and forth. Do it. I thought you'd have more for me. I pulled this cover of Kickers Inc. because it's Mike Mignola and Walter Simonson. I understand this is 1986 or 87 Mignola, but Walter Simonson is no slouch at this point in his career. I think he's already rebooted, or he's probably already done X Factor. So the fact that he's inking a young Mike Mignola on a cover for Kickers Inc. will tell you everything you need to know about people's place in comics and how the publishers think of you. You know what I mean? Like Walter Simonson, they're like, he needs some work. Let's toss him inking this cover for Kickers.
Yeah, I can see him in the hands. But yeah, so that's the only thing that gives it away as a Simonson.
Oh, right. I mean, the signature, or else I would have thought it was all Mignola. But I mean, look at the legs. Obviously, for anyone who is listening to this, you can pause it and Google Kickers Inc. number 9. The guy on our right, those legs, Jim Lee took so much from early Mignola. Like, you don't think about those as being influences.
I was looking at the legs on the dude at the far left and thinking those are Art Adams legs.
Yeah, these dudes took so much from Mignola. And maybe that just goes to show how good Mignola was, because he was like, fuck it, I could just draw like this, but now I'm going to fucking keep pushing it. Because this is very good. This is very good cartoony. I would have been into a comic drawn like this in 1988, 87.
The shading on the receding leg on that figure second from right is bonkers.
Oh, how it goes all the way up to his fucking hip.
Yeah, and it's not hatched in any sort of way.
Right. Oh, that's a very Mark Silvestri pose too. A lot of these guys were obviously like into this shit when they were coming out. Yeah, this is a great cover too. I mean, at least they knew what they were doing. Poppy yellow backgrounds. They were into it. But again,
none of the 5 figures are kicking anything.
No, no, and also if you're, the title is problematic. I mean, I don't know when the timeline is with NFL Super Pro, but again, in football, there's only one, maybe 2 kickers on your team. So is that big guy in the back who's built like a Mack truck? Is he a punter? Because otherwise, he's not a kicker.
He's the long snapper.
Yeah. Yep. Keep him on the roster just in case. He gets one play every 4 weeks. But he gets to fly on the same plane, go to the same strip clubs, all the goodies. Yeah, it's embarrassing for me to think that even in 1986, no one had better sense than to do a comic like this. That someone actually thought this will we'll get new readers because it's about football.
Yeah. Get me a football book. All right. Oh, geez, what it should be about. What's everybody's favorite position?
Well, who scores the most points? The kicker.
Yeah, okay. They knew nothing about football. Football. You use your feet. What do you do with your feet? You kick shit? Kickers.
Yeah. All right. So before I move on, then what is your thought about this? Like, if you were a kid, like, if you were a kid getting into comics or even an adult getting into comics right now, would you be into something like this where a publisher...
No, there's no way I would pick up
not
any
Kickers
of these
Inc.
books.
I mean, the idea, though, of a whole different universe with all different characters.
No.
The jumping on point is what gets me. It's such a ready to go jumping on point.
No. There's as a young reader, I was all about the mainstream superhero stuff or the awesome looking Image book. So, this would have done, all of these things would have done nothing for me.
Okay. Well, then what about rebooting your universe in another universe, but with established characters? And this is what brings us to the
universe
Ultimate line.
In another universe.
The Ultimate Universe, I guess, according to Bendis, is still around, but officially ran from 2000 to 2015. In 2009, it became Ultimate Comics. And I think in 2013, it became Ultimate Marvel Now. Now is all capitalized. But in 2000, when they did these Joe Quesada penciled and somebody computer rendered colored
they look
covers,
like overpower cards.
Yeah, I mean, the background is obviously like a photo. These covers are bizarre, especially look at them now. Like, this shit is just some weird shit. These first group of Ultimate Universe, or whatever you want to call it, Ultimate issues.
It doesn't work.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. But again, started in 2000. This was supposed to be, again, a fresh start. So everyone knows Spider-Man, but you might not want to go back and read all the continuity bullshit. So let's start over from the jump. Ultimate Spider-Man led off the line. I think this is also our buddy Brian Michael Bendis' first mainstream Big Two work, I think. I could be wrong, but basically I think he went from like Crime Comics and shit to this.
I don't know. Is this before or after Daredevil?
This is 2000.
Marvel Knights Daredevil.
Oh, this would have been... good question. I thought about bringing Marvel Knights, but they're in the same universe, so I didn't bring up Marvel Knights or Max. But I'm not sure. But anyways, it's obviously the first big thing that Bendis was known for. And through all its incarnations, Ultimate Spider-Man ran for 200 issues overall. And I got the first handful of these because I was a Mark Bagley guy, because I really like New Warriors. So I was like a Mark Bagley dude. Mm-hmm. They were fine and they were fun, but again, I couldn't tell you anything about them. Like I couldn't a single thing, nothing stood out. When I see this cover, when I saw this cover, I actually thought, like, that can't be the real cover. Like, I don't remember this cover. Like, it made no lasting impact on me. Look at those eyes. For anyone who wants to go pull up Marvel or Ultimate Spider-Man #1, his lenses, his eyes go all the way to his fucking scalp. There's some shit going on here. They were trying some shit while also just repeating shit, such as the origin story, shit like that. So, I mean, I don't know. What's your, before we continue on, what is your Ultimate Spider-Man experience?
I believe I had the first issue at least. I think I sold it to Atomic at some point.
In this image, we're looking at Peter Parker's wearing a shirt that has a cigarette with the Ghostbusters thing over it.
That's all the kids were rocking in 2000.
Yeah. Again, I
coloring.
Yeah, I think later on, Stuart Emanin drew some of these issues, and he also drew some issues of Ultimate X-Men, I believe. So I remember I went back and read those like on Comixology or something, but again, I don't.
Oh, I see. Never mind. The overlapping legs on the left side of the panel was throwing me off.
Oh, okay. But also, one important thing did happen in this series, and towards the end of it, Peter Parker actually died. Ultimate Peter Parker died, but Miles Morales was introduced in Ultimate Spider-Man. I guess he was introduced in another book, but essentially he took over the title after Peter died. And I don't know how many characters now are in the 616 that was introduced in the Ultimate books, but obviously this is one. I did not know that until I researched it. I had no idea that Miles Morales was introduced in Ultimate Spider-Man, but he was.
Yeah, these two. These aren't from the same book, right?
No. These are different.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that's a Sarah Pacelli, Miles Morales down there. I'm not quite certain.
But yeah, but also that's the Spider-Man that my kid knows.
Yeah, but for anyone who's watching the video, or if you want to research this is a good thing of art progression. That is from Ultimate Spider-Man 1 by Mark Bagley, and that is from, maybe 15 years later, 16 years later. Much tighter work by Baggs. So Peter dies, Miles is introduced. I don't have any real memories about Ultimate Spider-Man. This I remember. Ultimate X-Men #1. Again, a Quesada penciled. Somebody painted and did some effects over it, and a photo manipulated background. Strikes me as the cover design on these strikes me as weird, because you're taking an already vertical cover and putting letterbox up it vertically. Just a weird design choice, I guess, but maybe it's made to pop off. Yeah, it's definitely different. Let you know you're looking at something different.
Now this is Mark Miller and Adam Kubert?
Yes. One of the great things I pulled from this was, this is all from Wikipedia. Apparently Mark Millar never read the X-Men, so he based his stories off the X-Men movie. Like, he based his whole idea. So from Wikipedia, quote, with the 2000 X-Men film as his only reference, Millar reinvented the X-Men, unquote.
Okay. Yeah, I don't remember anything about this book, and I think, like Ultimate Spider-Man, I think the only issue I had was the first issue.
Yeah, I think I would jump back and forth on this. Depending on the artist, I would look at them, but I don't think I ever bought them. I think it's all Comixology.
This is Bandana Iceman, right?
Yes,
there he is.
It is Bandana Ice. Yeah, so like.
Oh, and armband.
It's the only clothes Bobby has on is a bandana and an armband.
Yeah.
But this is one of my biggest problems with this book was I didn't like the matching uniforms. I didn't like some of the character design choices. I've said this before, I've never been an Iceman guy. I don't get Iceman and why people like him. So the fact that he was one of the few X-Men included in this team struck me as odd.
What do you mean you don't get Iceman?
He just cracks.
He's Iceman.
He's like a shitty Spider-Man. He cracks shitty jokes, and he just makes
He's Human Torch, right?
I don't give a fuck about Human Torch either. And I can say that with confidence because I would not want to color an Iceman book or a Human Torch book. Both of those sound like a pain in the ass. Now, if you want to give me a fucking chin-pubed Wolverine soul patch book, they also did a lot of this shit where they were shooting straight from pencils. They were just trying to be different. And I get that. But yeah, a young Wolverine with the soul patch is fucking classic.
Was it is it Richard Eisenoff?
I think who painted a lot. Yeah, digitally painted a lot of these. Yeah. I believe so. Yes. And I mean, I get it. Like nowadays, it's a lot easier to color straight from pencils. The next book I'm going to focus on is one that had a whole series shot from pencils that I ended up not actually getting. But
look at the stitching on the underside of his glove.
Yeah, like a football. All right, so your experience with this is like you and I both. We had that first issue.
Is that a low key Kickers Inc. ref?
You don't. You don't remember much about the Ultimate X-Men. Like I don't really understand. I don't really know anything about them. How they differed from the regular X-Men. What like a lot of these Ultimate books at some point just became other versions of the X-Men, like alternate universe X-Men. So you could either get the regular book or you could get this book, but there's no dramatic difference between them.
Yeah, I think I think that's a good observation. And I think at the time, that was sort of my conclusion after reading the first issue. It's like, it probably didn't do anything drastically different for me. And yeah, it just felt kind of redundant, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like having a third X-Men title that like the redheaded stepchild of the X-Men books, at least for me. I mean, I'm sure there are people who are maybe like 10 years younger than me who maybe they grew up only reading Ultimate X-Men. I can't imagine that would be the case for anybody, that they wouldn't go out and seek the OG book, but it's possible, I guess. But if Spider-Man and the X-Men didn't do anything for me, the Ultimates did everything for me. Oh man,
here we go.
I mean, fuck yeah. I remember being so fucking bummed when it was announced that Brian Hitch was leaving the Authority. I was so fucking pissed. And then it's like, I think it was like a week or two later, it's like, oh, he's going to do a brand new Avengers book in Marvel or something. And while I still dislike the name The Ultimates, those Brian Hitch issues, I think he drew 22 series, a total of like 25 issues.
Yeah, this is the book that I read. I did not finish the second series, but I did read all of the first, and I enjoyed the fuck out of it.
Yeah, and
is this the first series right here?
This is the first series this is essentially like a lot of the MCU has been ripped off from the Ultimates. Like I think in this book, they also shove Bruce Banner out of a plane.
And yeah, is this the issue where he eats Freddie Prinze Jr. or something?
Yeah, I think so. And he just ran, like they use him to stop a bunch of bad guys, but then he just starts fucking destroying New York City. Yeah, it's just, it's so good. I mean, look at this Ultimates 5 cover.
That's crazy.
That is just nuts. Yeah, I just loved it because it's like, for lack of a better term, the Avengers were, by the time this launched, the Avengers were coming out of a decade of wearing like brown jackets, like bomber jackets, and fucking like right. Members of the Fantastic Four were Avengers, and
like Wet Works.
Yeah, you had like Force Works and Wet Work, or no, Force Works. Wet Works was
Force Works. Yeah,
you had Force Works.
Yeah, this is. I had never read an Avengers book previously. I had read the full run of The Authority, which is why I picked up this book. And this translated everything that I liked about The Authority into, they just pasted mainstream IPs on top of it. It kept the spirit of the book. And at the time, I remember all the talk about Ultimates being widescreen. Everybody talked about the widescreen action. And yeah, this was the MCU before the MCU.
Yeah, there's a great, in this first storyline, I guess, however many issues, 12 issues, there's the great storyline of Hank Pym beating on the Wasp, and then Steve Rogers just beating the living shit out of him. And as someone who grew up, I unless I'm misremembering, I think that's what it was. I think Steve Rogers went over there and just walloped on Hank Pym. Am I right about that? Do you remember?
Yes, there was an issue. Yeah, where he beat the fuck out of him as Giant Man.
Yeah, and I just remember thinking like I had read plenty of Avengers comics, and I was like, oh, this is a Captain America I can get behind. You know, like this is a dude who will take enough shit until he can't take no more shit.
Yeah, that didn't age well.
What, beating Hank Pym or this image?
No, this A doesn't stand for France.
I think it aged perfectly. I vaguely remember. I wonder if this is from a reissue because I thought he was missing a tooth in this panel.
This was like Mark Miller's gimmick for a while. There was the last page splash with the extreme close up of a character saying something clever.
Yeah. I'm on board. And even in these books, for coloring for 2000 and something, for 2000
Oh, it looks great.
Coloring, this is fantastic. Yeah, this is solid coloring. And then after the 2 Brian Hitch series, you get the Ultimates 3 by Jeff Loeb and Joe Madura and Christian Lichtner as the colorist because there was no inker. I did not pick up a single issue of this, and I'm a Joe Mad.
The first one.
I'm a Joe Mad fan. Like I really like Joe Mad, but shooting straight or coloring straight from pencils to me has always looked like I have no interest in it. You know, I'm a fan of inks. I'm a fan of all 3 stages of comic book art, and so this did nothing for me. You know, like, and I assume they were going for something new, like a new vibe, a new look, but to me it just looks cheap, like they didn't want to pay an inker.
Yeah, it's probably just the stubborn old man in me. But as a one-off image, I think it's fine. I don't think I would want to read a whole book that looked like this.
Yeah, and also, like, I didn't pull all these images, but if you Google the Joe Mad Ultimates, there's a lot of, like, sketchy like, it's not like he cleaned up his pencils super, super tight. You know, so I mean, maybe that's cool, and maybe I would like it if it was just the pencils. But once you add all the highlights and the colors without the inks, it looks unfinished. It looks weird to me because you can't get a solid black really. So everything is just shades of gray and brown. I'm not into it.
It's very Dale Keowney.
Yeah, that's Shoulder on Sabretooth on the cover of issue 2 of Ultimates 3.
And look at Jeff Loeb being edgy.
Suck it. I mean, how is Creed supposed to ever close his mouth with those teeth? Does no one ever think about that?
Ugh.
I mean, he's probably got a mouth breathe all night because he can't close his mouth, so he's probably like sore throat in the morning, snoring like a monster.
Nobody can understand what he's saying.
Yeah. Lips are probably chapped like a motherfucker, just the worst chapped lips. Yeah, so I guess out of the whole Ultimate line, The Ultimates was definitely the standout book by a mile. I mean, and it's funny because Brian Hitch came over to work on The Ultimates with Mark Millar, and then Mark Millar took over the Authority with
Frank Whiteley. But
Frank Whiteley.
This was post Authority, right?
That's what I'm saying. Oh, was it?
I think so.
Oh, okay.
I think that's why he got this.
Oh, okay. That would make sense then. Because he didn't get this off X-Men, on Ultimate X-Men. Not that book. Not that book. We got I like how on this Joe Quesada cover, they highlighted the goatee. Like they highlighted the shitty chin pubes. Look, there's like a highlight on it.
Yeah, that's real bad.
Yeah, look at those eyes too. Like he just did a ton of fucking coke. His eyes.
Somebody just Microsoft painted the pupils on there.
Yeah, so okay. Well, we got a little bit of time then. So you have no interest in, like, none of those struck a chord in you, like, oh, I want to go back and check out Spitfire and the Troubleshooters, or
What I would do is I would go pull out my Series 1 of Ultimates and give them to my 14-year-old. Because I think he would get a kick out of them. Because I think they are so similar to what we see in the MCU movies.
Right. Well, it was also, the Ultimates was the first place you saw Samuel L. Jackson as Nick Fury.
Yeah.
I mean, he essentially got cast because Brian Hitch was drawing him as Nick Fury. I don't know the timeline there, but it was obviously, 12 years before Iron Man? Or 8 years before Iron Man, something like that. Yeah, I would like to go back.
Can you imagine that happening now?
No, likeness. The lawyers would sue you.
If I just started drawing a character that looked like Tom Cruise and I told everybody that it's supposed to be Tom Cruise.
Yeah, did I talk about this on the show last week when I was talking about reference? Two of the books I'm really enjoying right now seem to have obvious visual references, like two actors.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I talked about it in the Discord. Yeah, to me it's jarring, and it was jarring then. I remember when the Ultimates started up, it was jarring that Samuel L. Jackson was Nick Fury. I mean, there was no denying it. It wasn't like he was trying to hide it. It looked exactly like Samuel L. Jackson, just with an eye patch and shit. But yeah, I would like to go back. My copy of the Ultimates Volume 1 is a library copy that I never returned and ended up just buying.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't know how much I paid the library. More than you would have paid to have the normal comic, because there's you have to essentially buy two of them. You have to replace the one. You have to pay for the one you took and pay for another one or some. I don't know. I think I paid like $30 for that.
Way to stick it to the library system. And
it had been manhandled too. That copy, you know, like people had probably like jizzed in it and shit. But yeah, there you go. The epic new universe, which I still like. And they tried to reboot the new universe softly maybe like 5 years ago, and they called it New Universal.
The ultimate epic new universe.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of these guys have come through, obviously. But I like this version of the Ultimates. But I guess now you just have that with the Avengers, right? Like, the current Avengers are just like the Ultimates. Like, they fuck shit up. They're badasses.
The comic Avengers?
Yeah, the comic version. I think.
Oh, I've never read an Avengers comic outside of Ultimates.
Yeah, I think the Avengers before the Ultimates, the Avengers were like the goody two shoes. They were like the Fantastic Four or whatever. They weren't like the Punisher or Daredevil. But now I think if you pick up an Avengers comic, it could easily just be an Ultimates comic. Because I think they saw like, oh, this sells, or at least those Brian Hitch issues sold. I'm sure the Joe Matt issues sold. Why wouldn't they? But yeah, there we go. A tight nice. 58 minutes.
Yeah, bringing it in under budget.
That's right. And I guess I got no notes, no recs. I don't know. Let me check my notes. Pretty sure I got no recs. I think I already talked about everything. There is something I want to talk about, but you're going to hate it, so maybe we'll wait.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah, sure, you know how I love to hate things.
Have you watched Peacemaker yet?
No, I did watch Eternals last Friday, or it was on while I was in the room.
I have not put aside 2.5 hours to watch the Eternals yet, but I do want to watch it because I've heard that it's different. So
it is different.
That's what we want, right?
It does not feel like an MCU movie.
Ooh.
And it's probably my favorite of the Phase 4 movies. Did I like it, and is it good? I don't know if I would go that far.
So you're not sure?
It wasn't hot garbage like the rest of them.
So you're not sure yet if you would ship it or ship it. You're still undecided.
I don't know. I think I might ship it just based on the strength of living to see and hear Salma Hayek say Thanos.
Okay. Yeah. I'm into
even at 55 or 60 or whatever.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah. I follow her IG, to support her
And
artwork.
I don't know the name of the lead in that movie either. The lead actress that plays Cersei? It was weird too, because there are 2 Game of Thrones actors in the movie, and the lead character's name is Cersei.
Yeah, the 2 brothers one is Black Knight and one is Laser Beam Eyes.
Yeah. Fuck. What was his name? I've already forgotten. Who cares?
Yeah.
But they were good, and she's quite attractive.
Yeah, I'm into it just because we always complain that it's the same old formulaic shit, and at least this is different. Even if it's boring, it's different. That's what I've heard. It's different, which is good, but it's also slow, which whatever. But to wrap this up in a bow, the Peacemaker is doing different shit. At least for like it would never happen in the MCU. I mean, it's definitely Suicide Squad, James Gunn shit, but Marvel. I don't know why they just don't do. Why they are so hesitant to do a show like. I mean, DC is taking an IP. Obviously, no one gives a shit about the Peacemaker. That's why he has this thing, but it still has the DC logo on it, and he is doing shit that Marvel would never let one of their IPs do on screen. Like it is fucking nuts. And my wife even commented, she's like, fuck, he's good. Like he's good to be a fucking wrestler who just transitioned to acting not too long ago. John Cena is really good in this role. I don't need to see him in The Notebook Part 2, but unless Rachel McAdams is in it.
I think I think DC has a more successful history with more off-brand and subversive sort of stuff involving their IPs.
Yeah, I mean, give Fox credit. They're doing different shit with Deadpool, which those Deadpool movies, I like them when I first watch them, but then as soon as they're over, I never have to watch them again. And even the weird shit going on at Sony, like at least they're doing weird shit. I don't want to see it. I'm not going to watch Venom Let There Be Carnage unless I get fucking hammered and we do it for a Patreon episode.
They have the courage to make bad stuff.
Yeah, at least they're swinging for the fucking fences and they're not worried about just giving you a formulaic movie you've seen 100 times already.
Which would be great, but they're like a career 130 hitter.
Still, those dudes are cool sometimes,
Sony's the worst.
Let's get weird. Anyways,
but I don't know. Maybe Moon Knight will be that thing. Like the Daredevil series was pretty heady.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sold. We talked about this. I'm not sold on that Moon Knight costume. Hopefully, it's temporary. They had a great chance to go with the fucking white on white Declan Shalvey uniform. So different from the rest of the MCU. It would have stood out. Would have been great, but whatever.
They could still do it. They could have 4 or 5 different costumes.
Well, he has, according to the internet, he has 10 personalities.
Right. So
he could have multiple whatevers. All right, let's wrap it up though. But this was your journey into the side channels of the Marvel universes.
Right, the adventure through the Marvel imprints.
And all have been retconned into the Marvel multiverse. All are Earth whatevers. So,
Great.
They can always pull them out of the ether when they need fresh IP to feed the masses.
Right.
Yeah. Give us that Starbread. Give us Kickers Inc., a lead into Monday Night Football on Disney Plus.
There's a chance I could get like a Matt Fraction DP7.
I don't know. I've never met Matt, but I'm sure he could give you a DP7
or 6, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know why there's got to be 7. I like how they're displaced paranormals. because everyone we're all paranormal, but these ones are displaced, like they're lost.
Their apartment got flooded.
Now that would be a deep cut. If in one of these Marvel movies, 7 individuals have to stay in like a Holiday Inn because their apartment got flooded, but they all claim to be telepaths and shit. That would be your kid screaming, "That's DP7!" in the movie theater.
Yeah. I wonder if one of those, if one of these characters showed up as one of the tryouts in Deadpool 2.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, it could have been one of what is it? Was it Psy-Force? What was that other one?
I don't. I've already forgotten.
Yeah, there's that one book that had like. Damn it! Come on. Okay. Whatever. Nobody cares about this except for me.
Oh.
Yeah, there you go. It could have been Psy-Force. Maybe one of the characters from Psy-Force. The guy with the leather jacket and the camo boots.
I imagine that's Sonic Force.
Psionic? Yeah, they all have. One was a telepath, one was a telekinetic, one was like a fucking fire starter. All mental, literally. Anyways, we're done. We're done.
Done.
All right, send us out of here for yet another week, so listener can go to bed.
Yeah. Everybody check out the Eternals to see Salma Hayek say Thanos.